It's time for something totally different here on IJDM, but a bit retro, a bit not. Just kind of a what happened. And between my wife and myself, we decided to go with where have all my yum yums gone? Just something kind of cute for the title. Where have all my yum yums gone? So let's get started. In no particular order, I am just going to kind of run through these and show photos. This is just something a little different, a little more scripted than I usually do. Number 10 on my list is normal restaurant food. Today, you walk in certain restaurants and it's kind of like a what the hell. It's like you could get a steak dinner or get a chicken dinner or get some type of salad, but then there's all this weird stuff on it and it's overspiced, and then the base product, which is supposed to be the hero of the meal, is just covered up in all these. And I realize people have different taste and so forth, but I mean, slow down on the spices, slow down on especially crispy chicken. I mean, there's enough breading on there to rip your gums to shreds. I mean, take some lessons, learn that sometimes diner food can be cooked to perfection if it's done right, and it can be tasty without a whole bunch of extra spices. Again, some people like this, some people don't. It's just your personal taste, but sometimes I just like to have a meal and just have it, a basic simple thing that I remember as when I was a kid or growing up in my teenage years. It just seems like a lot of things have changed. And moving on to the next one is an interesting one. But Snapple always prided themselves on using glass bottles because of the recyclability of them and so forth. Then they changed over to plastic. What's the major issue going on nowadays? Plastic. Plastic straws, plastic bags, well, also plastic bottles. I've had this argument with a few different people, but I go out my boat plenty of times, and I know straws are smaller, maybe they sink, whatever. But as far as along the beaches and the shorelines, I don't see a hell of a lot of plastic straws. I see a lot of plastic bags. I see just as many, if not three times as many, plastic bottles everywhere floating out there on the water in our Gulf areas and on our bay. So just to be noted, Canada Dry is one of my favorite little mixers I use, and along with Snapple, switched from glass to plastic, and it just doesn't taste the same. It actually had real bits of lemon in it, and now it's totally void of all that. It's just like in this era where we're supposed to be going natural, some companies seem like they're going totally backwards. And again, any of these complaints, I mean, feel free to make your comments or whatever, or make a complaint to the company or start a Facebook thing. I mean, that's not really something I do, but, I'd rather sit here and complain about it. Anyways, moving on our list is another mixed drink thing. We're just going to stay with the same motive for now, is Collins Cherry Mix. We use this for cherry martinis, which is another small drink we make occasionally. The original cherry mix was very flavorful, and it tasted great, and it was cherry colored, and now it's like this dark syrupy stuff, and it doesn't taste right anymore. And changed the bottle. I don't know what they did. And I've heard other people complain about the other Collins mixes that something doesn't quite taste right with them, and I don't know if it's a company change or a corporate decision, but again, something that to be remembered. Another one I'm going to make kind of a mention and an honorable mention on this. Goes side by side, is the small normal croutons you get on a salad. I know some restaurants still have them, and you can still special order them from Amazon. But why do we have to have these giant like bread loaf sized croutons on our salad now? It was bad enough that most people don't like croutons, but now you got these gigantic squares, and it's rectangles sometimes, and it's like, what happened to the little small ones that were just little cubes? And same thing goes with the classic Italian breadsticks. I mean, I see the freezer ones you can cook, but what happened to those crunchy ones where you just buy them off a bag? I mean, I do see them occasionally, but nine times out of ten they are still, and maybe that's the problem with them. But I think they figured out how to preserve them by now. Just kind of one of those weird mentions. And moving on is certain beers, and I'll say one, for instance, is Natty Light in glass bottles. Rolling Rock in glass bottles. Some reason there seems to be like a glass bottle shortage lately, and it's like you have to buy it in cans. And people, as a beer drinker for years, I can tell you one thing. Yes, beer in a bottle is better than in a can. There's probably only one beer I can tolerate in a can. That's Bud Light, And the rest of them, no, thank you. Some of the IPAs, they're okay, but those aren't really my thing. I'll have one occasionally, but it's all in your personal choice. But glass bottles on the top of my list. It's like, why do certain products, you can go into certain markets and it's everywhere, and in other markets it's just not? Like here in Florida, it seems like they really push the IPAs and what I call the gourmet beers and regional pubs and brewery type beers. They push them on you real hard. It's nearly almost sometimes 3/4 of the beer case rather than some of the domestic stuff you've known for years. Yeah, okay, some people say it tastes better, whatever. Again, personal decision, but just observations we've made. My wife came up with this one. She loved the Trader Joe's onion rings. They have plenty of products out that they make on their own. And where do these things go? I mean, they were good, they were delicious. Why would you discontinue something like that? Which follows up with Taco Bell Mexican pizza. And I'll swing back around to that one as well. And that's not really a Trader Joe's thing, but something else too. So I'm going to combine that into another little thing in this kind of top 10 in no particular order thing. The next thing is an enigma to me. And I say this to people and they're like, oh man, that sounds gross. But it really isn't. It's something I grew up with as a kid. When you go into any grocery mart, you had vanilla ice cream sandwiches and you had chocolate ice cream sandwiches. And I realize the round ones, I'm talking about the classic ice cream sandwich that you had that you got off the ice cream truck. Why is there no chocolate ice cream sandwiches? And the only place I found them to date is around the Atlanta, Georgia area, Chattanooga area. Company Mayfield was making them. And guess what? Mayfield came to this area. I contacted him and said, oh, sorry, we don't have those anymore. I don't know if it's the store just doesn't want to carry them. I don't know if it's something like a Coors Light thing back from the 1960s and 70s where it's not allowed east of the Mississippi. The same thing. It's not allowed south of the Georgia border. You can't have chocolate ice cream sandwiches. But yeah, it's an interesting one. Another one is kind of an oddball product for me, and that's the Hoffmans brand cheeses. Not like the hot dog Hoffmans from the Syracuse area, but Hoffmans is another cheese brand. I can't remember if they're in Pennsylvania, Ohio, or Wisconsin, but I know they were bought out recently. But there's always been issues trying to find their just a regular American cheese. It was just creamy. It was good. It's better than that prepackaged stuff. It was just a good all-American cheese that was perfect for melting or putting on burgers. It's just become impossible to get unless you special order it from certain websites. It's just one of those weird things. And I'm going to top this list right now, and I'll make some honorable mentions for the end of the video. But the number one thing, and I'll put this pretty much on my top of my list, is Mexican pizza. This isn't meant as a derogatory thing to somebody's food or whatever. It was just a humbly named thing that it had. And sometimes they call it taco pizza or fiestada pizza. There was different names, and you might have grew up with those octagon pizzas in high school and either hated or loved them. But I mean, outside of that, there was other brands like Totino's, Red Baron's, Jack's, the Kroger brands, and Taco Bell. Why? I mean, that was Taco Bell Mexican pizza was one of your cooler things you had on the menu. And it's not like you don't still have the ingredients. And they said, oh, it's to cut down on waste. Okay, well, fine, but it's still find another way to package it. That doesn't make any sense to me. It's if you have a product that's popular and it's selling good, then don't get rid of it just to save. You're not saving any money because somebody's going to go to another brand. That's just my personal opinion, and you can argue with me on it or not. A few honorable mentions on the list that I had a few people chime in when I was setting this video up and kind of scripting it out was this is kind of a Canadian thing, is ketchup chips. For a while they did have them in the US under different names. Lay's tried different versions of them, but they just weren't the same as the Canadian counterparts. And for some reason, Lay's, you can buy dill pickle, horseradish, apple cider vinegar chips, but you cannot find ketchup anywhere, and you have to special order those as well. And it's like one of those things that, again, you either love or hate, but still there's a market for those. A lot of Canadians come down here to vacation, so why not occasionally cover them? And another one with our Canadian friends is the giant surge of places that serve poutine. And I'm going to hold this carefully because growing up, it was basically fries, cheese curd, and gravy. It may not sound appetizing if you never heard about it, but or never tried it, but believe me, on a cold day or a day that you've been doing a lot of work and running around, it's full of carbs. Yeah, it's not healthy for you, but that's what it was. It wasn't all this other stuff where it's pulled pork and barbecue sauce and onions and peppers and all that. It wasn't really that back in the day. It's just kind of one of those things, like I mentioned earlier on restaurants. They've kind of taken it and what they say, bring it up to the next level. But sometimes the basic level and the thing you remember the most is what you started off with and what people would like if they had a chance to try it. And if you're going to offer poutine in your restaurants, or poutine, depending on how you say it, then at least offer the original Canadian flavor. And there's ways you can substitute cheese curd, because I know it's hard to find in different areas, but it's basically the same thing as cheese. It's just formed a little differently from the way they make it, and I'm not going to get technical. And the last honorable mention I have to say is due to the recent series, Stranger Things, the last series that aired, not the current one, but depending on when you're listening or watching this, is New Coke, also known in later years as Coke 2. Not Coke C2, that was a totally different thing, but Coke 2 or New Coke. A lot of people shunned it and said this or that, and there's a whole video I could go on and on and on about all the weird things that happened during that era with the flavoring, corn syrups, and sugars. But after ordering a few New Cokes, when Stranger Things had came out and they did this special with Coca-Cola and they started offering New Coke in very, very limited quantities, but finding out it was selling out as quick as they were putting it out. It's like, Coke, instead of making all these stupid other flavors, don't you realize there's still a market for this? Come on, people. Think about it. At least I'll try offering it, once in a while as a special flavor or whatever. I mean, it's still better than probably 90% of your other products you ever came out with. If you never had it, some people say different things. It's a milder Coke. Doesn't have the syrupy taste. It's more sugary. It's more bubblier. To me, it's kind of like not quite Pepsi, but not quite Coke. And it just sits right on when you're having a light meal with a sandwich or whatever. It just seems like it's a lighter version of the classic Coke variations and stuff they've done over the years. So just one of those things that would be an honorable mention. And that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. It's kind of corny and weird, but I figured why not do it. We'll see you next time on IJDM. And a little bonus coverage for you. And some of these I did actually find either on the internet or whatever, but some other honorable mentions from my survey I sent out with my some of my friends and buddies out there was shoestring fries in a can. Yes, I've had those. They're good. They're fun on a little road trip, although they tend to get all over your car. Coffee cup jelly donuts. That's a regional thing, I think, up in northern New York, Vermont kind of thing. I've had those. They're pretty tasty. I remember them. I guess those have been discontinued. Something happened with the company. Another mention was and these I think still exist as well. But again, one of those things you don't see every day is those bubble gum balls with the sour crystals inside. I remember those things. I forget exactly what they called. Oh man, Crybabies or Crybaby Extra Sour or something like that. Royal Crown Cola. Yeah, that's definitely one. And I'm just reading through the list real quick. Mars bars is another one, although I do know that occasionally you can find them in special places or specialty shops. Orange pineapple ice cream. I don't know if I ever had it, but I would definitely give it a try. Honey nut clusters. And on the same post, also, I miss the old Pizza Hut. Yes, I can agree with that one. And one from my good buddy that goes fishing with me. He says it's the best Gatorade flavor all time. Made a brief return, but it was called Gatorade Lemon Ice. Oh my, that almost sounds like an alcoholic Gatorade, but it was not. It was just one of those things. And then another mention of raspberry chocolate chips. So definitely a few sweet tooths in that list. Anyhow, this was your bonus coverage here on IJDM. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.